In this episode, let's kick off the Christmas season by talking about some toys that I wish I had when I was a kid. So, stick around. Hello, fellow dorks and dorkettes, and welcome to Sentimental. My name is Rob, and this is the show where I talk about my own personal history throughout my childhood. In this episode, we're going to talk about some of the toys that I wish I had when I was a kid. This is number 17 of this series, and yes, it's kind of hopped between different shows, but I think it fits perfectly with the sentimental theme of my own personal history. So these are my own memories of these toys, which mostly were through commercials, and you will see a lot of those commercials in this video. So anyway, let's kick off the Christmas season with number 1. Now, I'm not one to shy away from the more embarrassing toys that I wish I would have had, or I did have, or I still have. So this list is kind of populated with a lot of those, and you have to keep in mind I was a kid at the time and being bombarded by commercials and cartoons and so on and so forth. Anyway, enough explaining myself. Number 1 is posable chipmunk figures, released by Ideal in 1984. Now, there were 10 in total of these little posable action figures that were released for the Chipmunks, but I would have loved to have any of the core 3. Of course, Alvin, he was the coolest, so if I would have gotten him, I would have been happy enough. Now, I don't have a backstory to why I never got them. I do remember seeing them in the stores, and I couldn't find any commercial for them, so I don't know if that even exists, but I do remember seeing them in the stores, and I was a huge fan of the cartoon series. The couple different versions even that ran throughout the 80s, I always loved them. They were a great way to spend your Saturday morning. Anyway, one of the things that I really liked about these little posable action figures were that they had real cloth good clothing. Of course, when you got the base 3 Chipmunks, they just had their long, oversized shirt with their initial emblazoned on it. I mean, pretty simple. But out of the 7 other figures, they had different outfits, and you even had the Chipettes. Now, I cannot comment on how posable they actually were. I mean, they could have been just your normal arms, legs, head posability, or they could have actually been a little bit more than that. I would love to find out. Maybe one day I will. We'll have to see how much these go for on the secondary market. I mean, of course, they're from the 80s and from a popular franchise, so your guess is as good as mine to how much they'll actually be. Remember when I just said I have no shame in my game for what toys I wanted when I was a kid? Well, yeah, this is definitely one of them. No shame here, but I wanted a Munchie-Chi. I love these little primates. Do they fall into that category? I don't know. I mean, my cousin had one, and I loved playing with it. For some reason, I got a kick out of the fact that they can suck their thumb, and you could get little outfits for them. Now, I was lucky enough to get a little PVC one at one time that I don't have anymore. I wish I did. But that's how my parents would cheap out that wish list of mine. Oh, we don't want to get you this, but we'll get you the little dollar PVC figure. That's good enough. It was not good enough. I wanted a Munchie-Chi. I still do. And I know that they're still out there, but you know, I'm not really clinging to the fact of that it has to come from the 80s. If I can find the brand new Munchie-Chi, I'd get that sucker and display it with pride. Now, I have no idea, again, how much these go for on the secondary market or how well that they actually look, because plush toys, it can go either way. They can look like a dog chewed on them for a month, or they can look pristine, like right out of the package. But enough of that. Let's take a look at the original commercial for the Munchie Cheese.
It's Munchie Cheese, girl doll, boy doll. School time and football fan outfits are each sold separately.
Munchie Cheese, oh so soft and cuddly. With the thumb in her mouth, she's really neat. Fun to wiggle his little feet. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Happy, happy Munchie Cheese. I love you, Munchie Cheese.
Munchie Cheese girl doll and boy doll are each sold separately from Mattel.
Yeah. I feel like I have to explain myself again, but I was a kid. We'll leave it at that. And I loved the commercial for this toy. Number 3 is the Rub-a-Dub Doggy. When I was little, anything that was made for the bathtub, I was all about. I didn't have many toys to play with, but the ones that I did, I enjoyed every second of. One of my fondest memories is playing with the G.I. Joe shark in the tub endlessly. But anyway, the Rub-a-Dub Doggy is a plastic dog with cloth ears, I believe, that you can actually scrub and play with in the tub. This is one of those toys that the commercial just grabbed me. I mean, the fact of it has a little knob on the back of his collar where you can shake his head back and forth. So simple, but yeah, I was a sucker for that. Just seeing that in the commercial just made me want one. Now, again, I don't have a backstory as to why I didn't get one. I mean, who knows? These things came out in 81, 83, somewhere in there. And they were actually re-released in the 90s with different types of dogs. That's pretty cool. Anyway, it was released by Ideal, and I'm going to go with the year 1981. Just for the simple fact of I was 5, and yeah, something like this really spoke to me when I was 5. Again, I was 5. We'll leave it at that.
Rub-a-dub doggy, soft little doggy, it can take a bath with you. Taking a bath can be lots of fun, 'cause two in the bathtub is as much fun as one. Rub-a-dub doggy, soft pretty doggy. Rub-a-dub doggy, I love you.
Rub-a-Dub Doggy is watertight, soap-proof, and comes complete with a sponge bone from Ideal.
Now we're getting to the big boy toys. God, that sounds horrible. Anyway, number 4 is the Silver Mirage, released for the G.I. Joe toy line by Hasbro in 1985. Now, I talked about wanting the G.I. Joe Ram motorcycle many eons ago in this series. Now, we're going to talk about this Silver Mirage, which is another motorcycle and kind of the updated version of the Ram, because it actually had a sidecar with guns that you could put someone in, and it came with this like awesome armored plate that goes over the driver so their back is protected and they don't get hit with any, crossfire while they're trying to get across the battlefield. At least that's the imagination kicking in of the story that I've created for it. Now, an awesome toy, and would love to have it in my collection now to sit right next to the Ram that I was able to finally get. So just to fulfill those childhood fantasies of having both in my G.I. Joe motor pool would be great. And I mean, it's a neat toy nonetheless. I mean, and when I was a kid, and maybe a lot of you out there too, were just suckers for motorcycles. I mean, Megaforce, one of the best movies ever made when we were kids. And yeah, imagination just went wild on 2 wheels. So, with all that being said, let's take a look at the classic commercial of the Silver Mirage. And it features a lot of other awesome action figures and the Trouble Bubble from the G.I. Joe toy line.
Take it to headquarters. G.I. Joe has the formula. Intercepted! Televisors launch flight pods!
Cobra flight pods are on the attack. Look out, Joe! Cobra striking back!
Stop! Cobra's captured the formula!
Some assembly required.
The Silver Mirage motorcycle is stopping!
Introducing Footloose, Flint, and Bazooka. Cobra flight pod and Silver Mirage motorcycle each sold separately.
Yo, Joe!
Cobra flight pod. Other Joe and Cobra figures and equipment each sold separately from Hasbro.
Our fifth and final toy for this episode is a big one. It is a crown jewel in a lot of people's collections. And honestly, it was one of those blink and you missed it blips. At least in my area. This is Megatron with the Transformers toy line, released by Hasbro in 1984. Now, my first exposure to Transformers was getting Optimus Prime and Blue Streak for Christmas one year. One was from my parents' friend, and one was from my parents. And I think I got Ironhide in there as well at some point. But those were the first three Transformers that I had, and I had no idea they existed until I got them. It was a little bit before the cartoon started, so these were just really neat one-off toys at the time. And I think the Megatron train just choo-chooed away without me even realizing it, because once the cartoon hit and you want him, I couldn't find him anywhere. There were plenty of knockoffs, and I would have enjoyed even having those, but for some reason, it all just slipped through my fingers. Don't have a reason, don't have anyone to blame, it just happened. Just happenstance, I guess. But anyway, Megatron, I mean, how awesome was that when we were kids? He was a gun that could transform into a robot. Now, his robot version's a little clunky, of course, and more modern versions have done a fantastic job of blending that cartoon look with the gun look. You pay a hefty price for it, of course, but it looks like it's well worth it. I can honestly say this dude goes for buku bucks, and I'll throw the price up, but yeah, there's no way I could even come near it. I mean, even the reproductions are super expensive, so I can't even imagine what the original one will go for. Now, it's Megatron. We really don't have to say much more about that, but I found this awesome Japanese commercial for the Micromen toy line where he was originally released. So let's take a look at that, and then we will wrap up this episode.
Now, 新たなパワーを秘めてやってきたガンロボフルラインナップビクロマン。
Okay folks, that was 80s toys I wish I had when I was a kid, number 17. And this is our kickoff episode to the Christmas season. And like I said, what better way to talk about Christmas than about the toys that I was never able to get. So, yeah, Santa fell asleep on the job those years because none of these were ever under my tree. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them, and I love getting back to everyone. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed this, or any of the episodes YouTube is recommending, like down here, please hit subscribe. And if you hit that little bell icon, you'll be notified whenever there's a new episode. So anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Keep being rad, and stay dorky.